You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Irving had 35, and the Nuggets edged the Nets in OT, 144-139. A triple-double for Nikola Jokic, 29 points, 18 boards, and 16 assists.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. The countdown to Halloween obviously is on. It's tomorrow and the final day of October. Wow. Again, I just keep talking about how fast these months pass by, but it's unbelievable. Really, it is. But we're here with you this morning, a little overcast outside. We could use some rain. I'll be more than straightforward about that. I'm hoping we get some. We need it badly, although the forecast is not very promising at all for it, but I guess as long as there are some clouds, maybe there's a chance. But I think the better chance is going to be on Friday. But after that, it's and I'll tell you something else too. Looking ahead at this 10-day forecast that I'm looking at. Again, 10 days is a long way out, Chase, but highs just continue in the 80s. That's not brutally hot. I'm not saying that, but highs in the 80s and lows in the 60s as we just get into November. Like I said, fall is just a thing of the past in Alabama. It just doesn't exist. I mean, it exists in the sense that it's fall, but as far as what fall weather, what we associate with fall weather as far as cooler temperatures, it just doesn't seem to happen anymore. But nothing we can do about it. I mean, it's nice again. But I would prefer it to be. I'd like to see some highs, man, in the low 70s. I'd like to see some highs in the low 70s. I'd love to see some lows in the upper 40s, low 50s. Like we had that one little couple weeks ago. We had that one little 3 or 4 day period where I remember I did my show. Chase, you'll remember this. I did my show over at R&R Cigar Mansion. It's out on the porch on a Thursday morning before the Tennessee game. And that morning it was chilly. It was chilly, but that was that week for 3 or 4 mornings, and that was it. I've been staying in T-shirts and shorts to do my show, and no issues with it. But we're ready to go, ready to talk some sports this morning here on the program. I'll run everything down for you in just a second. First, though, I do need to tell you this hour of the Gary Harris Show is being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, empowering our members, enriching our community. Alabama Credit Union is more than just a financial institution. It's a member-owned community deeply rooted in rich historical values. Our central focus is empowering members, driving us to positively impact the community through financial success. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. And pull extra change in your pocket. All right, the rundown for today. Of course, no Alabama football game this Saturday. The Tide is on bye. Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. And again, just another great race this past Sunday at Homestead. I mean, an incredible race. Reddick won it. Blaney feels like he probably should have won it, but I think Blaney made an error that we'll discuss with Matt. Then at 10:30, Larry the Music Man's back for his segment. And I know a lot of people missed that last week because last Wednesday I was out. It was one of those deals where I got ill overnight and didn't have a lot of notice, couldn't do the show, couldn't find a fill-in, and we just we had to run a show from earlier. So we didn't have Matt. We didn't have Larry the Music Man. We did get Matt on Friday, but a lot of people, or several people texted me about missing Larry, but he's back today at 10:30. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904 is that number if you want to give us a call and talk a little sports with us, talk a little ball here on the Gary Harris Show. Some news and notes. Bama in the NFL update, and one is positive and one is not. Jameson Williams, gifted wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, already suspended for PEDs, performance-enhancing supplements. And now a story that came out last night, a TV station, WXYZ in Detroit, doing some investigating and reported that Williams and his brother were pulled over earlier this month on a traffic situation. And Jameson was a passenger in the vehicle that his brother was driving. But 7 News Detroit, local TV, pushing this story in that he was not arrested, even though there was a weapon, a concealed weapon, and his brother had a CPL, concealed pistol license. While the gun under Williams' seat was registered to him, he did not possess a CPL. The officer concluded that was a problem and told Williams he was going to be taken into custody for carrying a concealed weapon. And it's clear from the body camera footage that the officer does not know who Williams is, but repeatedly the wide receiver would remind him. I played for the Lions. I'm Jameson Williams, he said at one point. He continued to say that he played for the Lions. The officer told Williams that his position did not influence whether he would be arrested. At one point during the stop, Williams' brother told police that the gun belongs to him, but later on, Williams would admit the gun was his. I've got the gun for protection, Williams said. Do you guys know where I live? Detroit. Williams was handcuffed and placed in the back of the squad car. In an interview on Monday, Detroit Police Commander Michael McGinnis supported the officer's actions. But Williams wasn't taken to jail. Instead, a supervisor was called to the scene. The department says that's not unusual for a high-profile stop and is a precaution to make sure the policy is followed in case that could create media coverage. And basically, he was not arrested. And now that's what's causing the concern and whether or not he should have been arrested. And now Detroit police, prompted by question from 7 News, have launched an internal affairs investigation into the stop and the decision not to arrest the Lions wide receiver. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's one of those things where we might play that body cam footage for you later just so you can hear it for yourself. But some positive news for Cam Robinson, who's been traded from a bad team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, to a good team, the Minnesota Vikings. The longtime left tackle out of Alabama, been a longtime starter for the Jaguars, still owed over $16 million on this last year of his contract. The Jaguars are going to pick up some of that. Detroit looking for a tackle after Darisaw, their starter, went down with a season-ending injury. So this is a good opportunity for Cam Robinson to go to a contender. A couple Bama in the NFL updates there. World Series, the Yankees stay alive. They were down 3-0. They come back and win. Now, in fairness, the Dodgers were doing one of those. I don't understand how this happens, how you don't have enough pitching. But I guess the postseason straps these teams. They did one of those bullpen games last night where they just decided they were going to pitch 5 or 6 relievers, not really have one of their normal starters. And they took a 2-0 lead as Freeman hit another home run. Freddie Freeman's homered in every game of this World Series and 6 straight World Series games going back to when he played for the Braves. But the Dodgers led 2-0, but the Yankees got a grand slam from Volpe and went on to win it 11-4. Tonight will be a normal game. Of course, the Yankees are pitching Garrett Cole, who was fabulous in Game 1, even though New York lost that game. Garrett Cole, if he could get a win there, they could push this thing back to L.A. for a game 6. Dodgers win, it's over. Game 5 coming up tonight at Yankee Stadium. And the Yankees, again, have to win, obviously, down 3-1 in the World Series. Some college football, Jacksonville State has become the midweek Warriors. They play again tonight at Liberty in a big game on CBS Sports Network. Also, Kennesaw State plays tonight at Western Kentucky, as they have a lot of this midweek college football. But Jacksonville State has been thriving playing these Wednesday night games, and they've got another one tonight. Remember, Liberty is coming off that shocking loss to Kennesaw State, and so they won't be in a good mood. All right, it's 12 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. If you want to get involved in the program, you can call us on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline at 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. We'd love to hear from you. Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. Larry the Music Man at 10:30. Outside of that, we're wide open for phone calls. So give us a ring. We'll talk some sports with you today on the Gary Harris Show. And we'll be right back after this.
Tuscaloosa Thread.
Good Wednesday morning. Tomorrow is Halloween, and the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency joining local law enforcement and fire services to urge parents to make sure children are safe. Take them to organized public events, or make sure they are only trick-or-treating at homes of neighbors whom you know. They also urge you to check the candy when they come home. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 specials
that control growth. They also perform an important function by controlling blood pressure and minerals like calcium and potassium to keep the entire body healthy.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places stay dry. The high today 81. Tonight's low 64. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower in spots tomorrow night. The high 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama.
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:17. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports. Businesses open on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904, and that's where we find our pal Jim, who's going to lead us off this morning. Hey, Jim.
Hey. Yeah, I was just like to study this tiebreaker, the SEC championship game.
Okay.
The thing about scheduling your rivalry the last game of the year is this could happen sooner, at some point happen. Is A&M and Texas could tie and play the last game of the year, and then 7 days later they'll have to play again.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give the advantage in that situation to the losing team every time. Getting that second chance. I mean, how bad they will feel when they lose, how high the other team is, and then find out you got to play them 7 days later and beat them again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's that's for that to happen, Tennessee's going to have to beat Georgia. But it could happen. I mean,
it could. Yeah.
A&M would have to, run the table until the Texas game. Texas would have to beat them, and Tennessee would have to beat Georgia to get them out of the way. Texas can get in other situations, but I'm just saying, as far as them playing a rematch 1 week later, that it could happen. And I'm looking down the road where I'd hate to see that with Alabama and Auburn. Same thing,
Yeah, without divisions, you're right. That's always a possibility. I wonder if somewhere along the line, of course, when the schedule works out, it works out. Then you could be playing a final game against a team that's not a traditional rival and have to turn around and play them again, too. But I wonder if some of these teams will look to move their traditional rivalry games up higher in the schedule to avoid that. I don't know.
We're thinking of it this way. And if we talk about both teams getting to the SEC championship game, it means both of them pretty good teams that particular year.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So just say that was the situation last year where Auburn and Alabama was doing, Alabama beats Auburn on that last second, 4th and 31, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 week later, find out we got to play them again.
Yeah.
And Auburn sits there, as bad as they felt, they're going, man, they're looking the chops. It was like, we get to play them again.
Right.
So that's the bad part of it, So I know everybody wants to schedule. A game like that's going to probably not be moved, but that if there's a reason to move it at least a few weeks earlier, that would.
Yeah, it could. It could happen. We've seen similar situations before with obviously Alabama and Georgia playing in the SEC championship game a few years back, and then turn around playing the national championship game. I remember one year. Florida and in the old BCS days, Florida and Florida State played the final game of the regular season, then turned around and played again for the national championship. And obviously, it happens sometimes in the NFL. You'll have two teams that close out the regular season against each other, then play in the playoffs. But I'm with you. I'd rather not see it play out that way, but it could.
Yeah, and it could happen another way too. This where, say Auburn and Alabama, neither one makes it to the SEC championship game, but they end the season with 2 losses apiece, and they both get in, and they get a first round matchup. From the rank, whatever how they, what would it be like? One could be 8, one could be 9, I guess.
Yeah,
okay. One could be number 5. Yeah, one could be number 5. One could be number 12.
All these scenarios are possible, but we'll have to just see how they play out. But as far as if it was to get into the playoff, I guarantee you both teams would be okay with it because you'd rather be in the playoff and having to play a repeat game than not be in at all, and probably. Same thing in the SEC championship game. But I'm with you. If you're let's say it's Texas and A&M, and it didn't work out that way. Let's say that Texas beats A&M in College Station, and then they got to turn around and play them again the next week in Atlanta. You're right. You're like, man, we don't even get to enjoy this win.
And here's the thing about it. They may have to play a third time, which really make it bad if they won their playoff games and
But you know what? They all knew this. All of the powers that be knew this when they put this system in place. They wanted to expand the playoff. They did not want to give up the conference championship games. So they knew that theoretically what you just said potentially could happen. That if a team played from the same conference had to play each other 3 times, I do think that would be bad. But it's,
Let me ask you, would you think about this? Would you be in favor or have no opinion or whatever if the committee, the rules were like, as far as the first round game, that rematches would be avoided if possible. Even one team's ranked 5 and one's 12, and they've already played, especially the last game of the year.
Yeah, but the problem
they say,
with
okay,
that, Jim,
5 plays 11.
I wouldn't have a problem with it, but some other teams that are in the playoff might. They might say, well, I don't. You're changing the rankings now to keep these 2 teams from playing each other. That's not fair to us. So. Yeah. Yeah, there's but there's a lot of scenarios. So far, we'll see. It may not work out that way. It may not be an issue. If you don't have a repeat game in the SEC championship from the previous week, it won't be as big a deal. But there's a good chance that you're going to have 2 teams that have played before because you don't have divisions, and even in divisions, those I guess theoretically could have happened, but it didn't happen as often. But that's part of the world we live in now, and. I hope it does. I'm with you. I hope it doesn't work out that way. I don't want to see 2 teams play and then them have to turn around and play again the next week.
Yeah, and like I say, possibly 3 times, and especially if this one team wins the first 2 times, and then the other team beats them by a point in the championship game. It's like, really, you only had to beat us once, but we had to beat you 3 times to get this national championship.
Yeah.
So I know that's that may never happen, but pro football, like you said, it's set up that way. So, but anyway, that's the one thing I have against it. The way it is, but I know it's not going to change. So. All right, y'all
Jim.
have a good day, man.
Good stuff, man. Thank you. It's 9:24 here on the Gary Harris Show. We got time to squeeze in another phone call if you want to give us a ring at 205-342-9904. And he does. He makes a legitimate point. I mean, we could see repeat games with the conference championship games and with the playoff games. And listen, we're going to see too a possibility of a team playing. You could have a team play 12 regular season games, play in a conference championship game, lose that conference championship game, then have to turn around and play in a first-round playoff game. I mean, you're looking at a lot of games for college football teams to play, potentially. But they all knew this. The powers that be don't care. They want the money. They want the TV networks that pay all the money want the games. And so too bad. If you happen to have to play in your conference championship game and then turn around and play again in a first-round playoff game, that's just what you're going to have to do. So I think some teams probably privately, of course, if you get the conference championship game and win it, you get the bye if you're in a Power 4. But if you don't, and you lose a conference championship game, I guarantee there's a lot of people would rather not play in that conference championship game and just go ahead and play a first-round game than to play in it, lose it, and then have to play a first-round championship game. I guarantee you that. But, the system is the system, and everybody's trying to get in that playoff. So if you get in the playoff, whatever the circumstances are that dictate that, you'll be more than happy to play in the playoff game, because that's where everybody's trying to get. And that leads to another question. How is it going to be if you're a Power 4 school that had a goal of getting into the playoff and don't make it? Now, some of the lower tier conferences, a bowl game is still a reward. They're still going to be excited about playing. But if you're a Power 4, let's just say for Alabama, for instance, who has set the standard for postseason success in the playoff, and then you expand to a 12-team playoff, which clearly that was the goal, and you don't make it, how much excitement is there going to be to play in a bowl game? I don't know. It's a good question. We've always around here talked about, well, Alabama football is bigger than, the brand and the buy-in is different than other schools. Well, that may be tested. What if you don't make the playoff and you go to a regular bowl? Will everybody stay engaged? Will everybody want to play in that bowl game, or will we see opt-outs? Will we see opt-outs the way we did last year with Florida State? Those are questions that are going to be answered by some of these programs that don't make the playoff, that had a goal of making the playoff. Will your team continue to want to be together to play in a bowl game that has no impact on the national championship? I don't know. Only time will tell. All right, it is 9:28 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we're going to get to our break. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk with Matt Coulter on NASCAR. Recap Homestead, look ahead to Martin.
30. The Tide Tailgate Show is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, Skyland Boulevard, Tuscaloosa, and the new location, Highway 280, Birmingham. Online at academy.com.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time.
We're living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
NASCAR, and what a race at Miami Homestead. And now we, of course, we look ahead to Martinsville, and then we get the championship race a week from Sunday out in Phoenix. So it's just about wrapped up. Good morning, Matt.
It's go time. Isn't it? What a great race. 33 different leaders, 3 lead changes among 3 drivers in the final 3 laps. It was just an incredible race.
It really was. It was outstanding, and it's why you and I think the Homestead should be the final race. But for Tyler Reddick, what a win. I mean, what a win. This is Michael Jordan's team, and he pulled it off going high. I think Ryan Blaney's one of the best out there, and he was in position through some great driving to get the lead late. I don't know what he was thinking. He didn't really go in depth when he was interviewed after the race, but I don't know if Reddick just got such a run that it just shocked him I don't know what happened, but I can't believe, or maybe he thought Hamlin would get him on the low side. I don't know why, and that's what I'm going to ask you. Why in the world did Blaney, who's a half a lap away from winning and punching a ticket to the Final Four and a chance to defend his championship, not go high to block there?
Well, you're talking about the very, very last move.
Yes, I'm talking about the final move that Reddick made.
Yeah, the biggest problem he made was coming off the bank.
Yeah,
off the high side of the track.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. And why did he even come down? I guess is the first question.
No, he should have stayed high. And he didn't. You're right. He didn't talk in depth about it, other than the fact that he said it stings. Yeah, I'll bet it did. But that's where he lost the race. Now, when Reddick came shooting out of the cannon out of 3 and 4, I think had Blaney gone up, he'd have wrecked them both.
Okay.
Well,
why do you think he moved down the racetrack? I guess is the better question. Then.
I don't know. I haven't heard a decent explanation for it. Boy, he has caught a lot of criticism, even from the king, Richard Petty. It was not smart to take the middle groove. I've never really seen the middle groove as the fast track. Have you?
No.
You're high up, and to get in the middle is quite puzzling to me. I wish I had an answer. I wish Blaney had an answer. The only answer we've heard is from a lot of the pundits, a lot of the experts, a lot of former drivers said it was just dumb.
Yeah, they're killing him. And he's a good driver.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a champion, and he ran a great race to be in that position. And it looked like Penske was going back-to-back with Logano the week before. I can't figure it out. I was shocked. But listen, Reddick will take it. And for that team, high profile and with Michael Jordan involved, I don't think NASCAR's too disappointed that you're going to have Michael Jordan at your championship race in Phoenix with a chance to win a championship.
I really haven't thought about that, but that's an excellent point. You got Reddick, Logano, who are automatically in, then Bell and Byron. But listen to the 4 guys trying to race in this weekend in Martinsville: Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Bill Elliott. That's just an amazing foursome.
Yeah, it is.
All battling for one of the 4 spots.
Yeah, Chase Elliott. Yeah, it's going to be crazy, and there's no way around it. And I had Hamlin in the race, and here we go again. He's going to have to win Martinsville. I mean, just another one of these guys that is as good as he is. He's running out of opportunities to win a championship. This could be now or never for him.
Well, what do you think he's got left? A year or 2?
Just a couple. Yeah, I would say probably.
Still one of the best. He's still one of the best out
Yeah, he is. And he may, run 2 or 3 more years, but he's over 40, and so it's not going to be that much longer.
No, and you see this in a lot of the greatest drivers we've ever seen, and that's when you get in your 40s, you approach your mid-40s, something just kind of, your reflexes dwindle, many other different reasons. But I kind of thought this was going to be his year, but I guess I've thought that for the last 10.
Yeah, I'm still just trying to kind of figure out here with Blaney too, because now I'm reading, like you said, the Kyle Petty criticism and
oh man, Kyle Petty was brutal on him. Got called stupid.
And I just don't. As good as Blaney is, it just makes no sense that he would just slide down the racetrack and just open it up. I think that's why Reddick was, because he was giddy, but I think Reddick was stunned. You know, he said, I thank you for racing me clean, but he really didn't race you clean. He just really gave you the race. I think that's what.
Yeah, he took the middle lane for what reason I'll never be able to figure out. Maybe we'll get an explanation here.
I wonder, Roger Penske, who's already got the 22 in because Joey ran a incredible race the week before with Paul Wolf in the fuel deal. He's got a chance to have both his drivers, 2 of the final 4, and still may get that. I don't know, but I wonder how Roger Penske handled that. I wonder if he called Ryan in and said, "Hey man, what are you doing?"
Golly, I'd like to have been in the hauler when that happened. If it was in fact in the hauler, or if it was by a phone or whatever, or knowing the captain, he probably didn't say anything. Although you find it a little bit difficult when one of your drivers makes a move like that or doesn't make a move like that.
Speaking of ripping, Tony Stewart pretty much ripped NASCAR in his interview with Kevin Harvick on Kevin Harvick's podcast as to why. He said they did not go into this season, Stewart-Haas, planning on this being their last season. And just said that he just talked about how hard it's gotten to keep sponsors and how much time you have to spend literally week to week, and the charter system and just all types of things. He just said, this is not the NASCAR that I used to drive in, and it's not the NASCAR that I like. He said it's successful. It's going to continue to be successful, but he just basically said, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. And I said, wow.
Well, and he isn't. He's a hot rod guy now, right?
Yeah.
NHRA.
Yeah.
That's where he's making his living now. And, Tony Stewart has the right to his opinion, but, it's kind of like looking back over your shoulder after, why do you have to say that? I don't know. Maybe he's explaining the loss of Stewart-Haas. I don't know, but it didn't really irritate me. But I'm going, hey, Tony, you're not involved. Why are you being so critical?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we move on. I know this. It's been an exciting season, coming off an incredibly exciting race. You got Logano and Reddick, have already punched their ticket to Phoenix, but we get this race at Martinsville coming up, Matt. And before we get to our picks, and you pick first this week, give us this is a well-known track. Give us the track report.
Yeah, it's the oldest and shortest. Martinsville is 0.526 miles, just a little over half a mile. It is asphalt, 12-degree banking in the corners, 0 flat straightaways. Richard Petty, get this, Gary. It surprised me, even though I kind of halfway knew it. Richard Petty has 15 wins. 15 wins at Martin.
Wow.
That's amazing. And by the way, he and his family are going to serve as grand marshals. They will broadcast the race on NBC at 1:30 Sunday afternoon.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I like Martinsville. This is one of the tracks that should be in the Final Four or so. I like it when they go back to tradition when they're racing for the playoffs, and that's why this one, I think, is going to be even more special.
Well, you get the first pick this week. Of course, I've already wrapped up the season championship, 5 wins to 2. So,
yeah, you just kicked my butt. I've been driving like Blaney at home.
but still, you'd like to get a win this Sunday. You got a chance to pick from the field.
Well, I have been going over and over it. And a minute ago, I thought, gee, I wish you picked first. But he won back in the spring. I'm going to take William Byron.
Yeah, he's strong there. Really strong there.
And he's won 2 of the last 5. He is 4th on the top 4. And I just think that he's got something to race for, and he's got the car and Hendrick Motorsports to go ahead and win it. So I'm going to take William Byron. What about you, Gary?
Well, he's really strong there. And all of these guys that we mentioned trying to race their way in, Blaney, Larson, Elliott, Hamlin, they're all strong. They're all really strong. Since 2021, 7 races. Of course, Logano's got the best average finish at 5.3, but we're not thinking he's going to beat up a car with him already in the Final Four. Blaney,
he'll drive.
Yeah, Blaney has the second highest average finish at 6. In 7 races, he's got a win, 4 top 5, and 5 top 10s. That's strong. Larson's strong. His average finish is 7th. Byron 7.7, Chase 9.7, and Hamlin 11.1. So I'm going to pick one of those guys. You know what? I think he's a really quality driver that had a bad moment. That's going to motivate him. He's got a great track record here since 2021. So I'll go with Blaney. I'll go with Blaney to bounce back and get the win and put himself back in the Final Four with a chance to defend his title.
All of the guys on the outside looking in have won at Martinsville.
Yeah.
Heck, if I look at it, I think everybody has won there except for Tyler Reddick. And I'd have to check on that. He may have won there too. But let me just footnote this. And it's come to the forefront after his win at Miami Homestead. But I don't think that we immediately call on the 45 to be one of the best drivers out there. But, the last couple of years, you remember he won Talladega with Michael Jordan in Victory Lane. So he can win on any track. And I think that guy is going to start getting a lot more recognition as one of the top 3 or 4 drivers in the sport. And who knows? Gary, he might win the championship.
Well, he's had a phenomenal season. He really has. And you're right. If he wins the championship, it just catapults him into that rarefied air. But he's had that type of season. It's not like you said, it's not been a fluke. I mean, he's been good the whole year. And he's been good on different tracks. And clearly that team has the resources. And obviously he's in the Final Four. He's a serious threat to win a championship. So I still like Logano. I'm picking Joey to win it all, whether we'll get to that next week. But Reddick is Reddick's strong. There's no doubt. So, but it'll be interesting on Sunday.
And you know what? My pick for Miami Homestead, Christopher Bell, I think he ended up 4th. He's not getting mentioned very much, but man, this guy races solid everywhere he goes. I'm not necessarily picking him. I'm just pointing out that Christopher Bell is in the top 4 for a reason.
Well, all of these top guys now, when you get to these last couple races, and this is, I didn't ask you this, with this being a short track, with guys racing to get in, there will not be any problem with somebody taking somebody out at this one now. I mean, they'll if it comes down that final lap or 2, 3, 4, 5 laps, you'll move a guy to get him out of your way in this race with no hesitancy, because again, it's the speeds are down, but you won't. I mean, if you're in position to have a chance to win, even if it's a car that's not in contention, they're in your way, you might get them out of the way.
Well, they'll bump and they'll rub a lot of sheet metal, but a track like that is just very competitive and fun to watch because it's so tight racing. And I think you'll see them pushing each other out of the way. But on a track like that, you can push them out of the way without spinning them out. That's right.
It's going to be fun. It is going to be exciting. And then next week at Phoenix, they'll run for the championship. I still wish that. I don't know why. I still haven't figured out why they moved that final race away from Miami Homestead. I still haven't figured that one out, Matt.
Well, especially since the drivers love Miami Homestead. And then, hey, was Sunday a great example of how they race at that track? Yeah. I don't know why they move them around. Occasionally when they move them around within the playoffs, I kind of understand it. But, then they used to have Talladega in the middle, but it'll be the end of one of the playoff rounds next year. So we'll see.
All right, before I close out the segment, Alabama football, bye week before going to LSU, but got a 34-0 win over Missouri. Coach DeBoer spoke to the Monday Morning Quarterback Club in Birmingham this week. No regular press conference, but just acknowledged it. Hey, we know where we're at. We know what we're dealing with. Basically, you got to win the next 4. Every game is a one-game season. Do you think they're up to the task, Matt?
I think they're up to the task. I'll tell you what, LSU, I think they announced the kickoff is 6:30.
They did.
Whoa. Death Valley, Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, but listen, I get it. But Allen, who's won more times at Death Valley than Alabama? Nobody.
Alabama won. Didn't Alabama win like 12 times on the road there?
Oh, their all-time record there is overwhelmingly like 20. They're like 23-10 or something at all time at Tiger Stadium against LSU. They've dominated them there.
Yeah, you're right.
That doesn't mean it's an easy place to play, and that doesn't mean LSU won't win the game. But all this for Alabama, and most of those games have been at night. I remember those saying Tide don't lose in Baton Rouge. I mean, there was this period there from 69 to whatever it was, 99 or something. They didn't lose a game there.
Well, and you and I have covered that game quite a few
times.
I'm not sure I remember one single time that we went down there to cover that football game where Alabama lost.
That's a good point. I do remember I was there for a tie. I was there in 85 when they tied. But I was there in 87, Bama won.
89, they won the SEC championship.
Yeah, I was there. And then they beat them in back-to-back years down there because the schedule swapped when South Carolina and Arkansas came in, and Alabama had to beat them in back-to-back years in Baton Rouge and did. And I'm trying to think if I was there for any of the Saban losses. I was there in 12 when they won with Yeldon. I wasn't there too. I don't think I've ever seen a loss in Tiger Stadium by Alabama.
Hey, before we wrap up, just a heartfelt thoughts and prayers to Lenny Patrick and his family. I was very saddened when I read that he had passed away, and man, he was a hell of a running back.
The
that
thing
run
about
against Auburn.
Yeah, he's permanent lore now. But the thing about Lenny and Rodney Orr and I were talking about this last night is the Alabama career wasn't what we expected it to be. But he's one of those guys that if you, especially our age, Matt, but if you grew up in Alabama or followed Alabama high school football, he's a legendary name. I mean, he's a Lenny Patrick, Herschel Walker, Marcus Dupree. He's that kind of high school player. I mean, he was a phenom. And you're right, that 315 game for Bryant, he single-handedly won that game.
Yeah, that just an incredible run and kept Alabama out front. But anyway, I know we've gone way over.
No, that's fine.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Matt. All right, Matt Coulter on NASCAR. 9:48 here on the Gary Harris Show. And the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, let me just tell you something right now. I talk about it every day. I love the place. And I really think with the holidays coming up, people are going to be eating a little bit differently. You're going to allow yourself, some treats. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You need to probably continue to train. But if you're some of those, some of the people that decide pretty much just to take off from working out during the holidays and you need to get in there in January, or you want to go ahead and just push it through the holidays, personal training might be something that you want to take a look at. And the YMCA's personal training staff of Bennett Elmore, Riley Strickland, and Michael Johnson are there for you. All certified, all outstanding personal trainers. And they've added a couple of trainers too, Alexis Saylor and Stacia Donovan, who are there as well. And this is an opportunity for you if you kind of hit the wall or you're having a hard time getting over the hump, or you just want to push yourself maybe a little more than you can by yourself. Personal training, I'm an advocate for it. It's effective. It can really help you. Consider personal training from the YMCA of Tuscaloosa. 2300 13th Street downtown. Call them at 205-345-9622. Find out more at ymcatuscaloosa.org. All right, we'll be back with the final segment of the first hour of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept, Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m., available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on.
And she'll love it.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher and Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and Local Roots.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour
69 North in Northport, just before Carroll's Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Black Warrior Marine, Castaway Fish Co., Riverside Feed and Seed, and Adams Heating and Cooling.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places stay dry. The high today 81, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower in spots tomorrow night. The high 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 66 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:53 here on the Gary Harris Show. Welcome back in, and thanks to Matt Coulter for jumping on and talking some NASCAR with us. And, man, the season is just 2 races away from completion, and going to be exciting at Martinsville, and then, of course, obviously exciting at Phoenix a week from Sunday when they run for the championship, run for a championship. As far as Alabama football is concerned, it is it's a situation where this is an important week, obviously, but it's an opportunity with no game for the guys to get out and do some recruiting, talking about the staff members. They've done some speaking engagements. There's been some things that they get to do that they wouldn't do in a regular preparation week for a game coming up on Saturday. So they're taking advantage of that. Players, get a little break as well. But at the same time, they're working hard to get ready for LSU too this week. Don't think that they're not. So, but on TITV last night, we talked about the game plan for Missouri. I thought it was a really solid game plan. I do think that they've changed a few things offensively, tweaked a few things. Nick Sheridan has for Jalen, as far as it looked like the throws on Saturday were more kind of predetermined type throws. This is where the ball is going to go. And the biggest thing that I took away from it was, getting the running game going. I mean, and not just with quarterback runs, but with Haynes and with Miller, Richard Young, to run for, I think it was 271 yards in the game. If Alabama can run the football, and it may not be 271 every game, but let's say they can run the football for 150 to 200 yards, they've got a chance then, I think, to be hard to handle. And that really is going to open up a lot of things for Milroe in the passing game. And they'll need, I think, a balanced attack down at Baton Rouge. LSU is still vulnerable defensively, but they've gotten a lot better. They've gotten a lot better up front on defense. And now Reed, the quarterback for A&M, really gave them fits. And, Milroe's that same type of athlete. So hopefully he can exploit them as well. Not just with his arm, but again, with his legs, but at the same time get that running back core going as well. Because Alabama, I think, is going to need to score some points in that game. Even though they shut out Missouri, this LSU offense with Nussmeier at quarterback, with those wide receivers, which are top-notch, they can move the football. They can score points. So I don't think it's a situation where you're going to go down there and think, well, we're going to score 17, 20 points and win the game. You're going to have to get into the 20s, maybe even into the 30s to win it. So offensively, you're going to have to be hitting on all cylinders, I think, if you're going to get that victory. But this is a cool week for the coaching staff to have an opportunity to do a lot of different things, and they're taking advantage of that. All right, that's going to wrap it up for hour number one. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. Find out more at alabamacu.com. Hour number two is coming up. We'll have Larry the Music Man at 10:30. More of your phone calls. And we're also going to play that body cam video, play the audio for you from that Jameis Williams situation up there in Detroit. We'll have that for you coming up in the second hour as well. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Hour number two is on the way.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
We will have a Game 5 of the World Series later today.
As Hudson deals, swung on and hit in the air to left field and deep. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. It's a grand slam.
Yankees Radio Network. The New York Bats woke up Tuesday night, and that grand slam from Anthony Volpe gave them the lead for good in Game 4. 11-4 was the final score. Freddie Freeman did homer again for L.A. He's now left the yard in the last 6 World Series games he's played in, dating back to his time with the Braves. Game 5 is tonight, 8 Eastern on Fox. NFL media reports the Jets are signing a pair of kickers to their practice
when you order. So whatever the size of your appetite,
there's always something delicious waiting for you here at Taco Casa.
Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose
changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM. WTBC, I'm Gary Harris. Chase Fields right there on the other side of the Chase Brumfield. I tell you, things, I get a lot of things in my head. The reason I said Chase Fields, just so people will know what all the stuff I'm doing sometimes. I was looking at a little clip of Kobe Bryant dunking, and it brought up the fact, and I remembered the kid, that he was actually, as a high school player, was ranked behind a guy named Ronnie Fields, who most of you have never probably heard of. But Ronnie Fields played at Farragut Academy in Chicago, same place where Kevin Garnett played. And Ronnie Fields was a 6'3" guard with a 50-inch vertical jump. And anyway, long story short, he never made it. And I was looking him up, trying to kind of, remind myself why he didn't make it. And I was reading about him, and so that's why Fields was on my name. But it's one of those interesting stories. He was a great, great, great high school player, but it didn't happen for him. He was a McDonald's first-team All-American, but had a car accident, and he just never really. He played professional basketball in the minor leagues and overseas for many, many, many years, but never went on to the kind of fame and fortune that was expected of him. So anyway, that's why the Fields was on my mind. All right, so something else that we talked about in the first hour, okay, was Jameson Williams and his situation. Listen, Jameson Williams has all the talent in the world as a wide receiver, but he has had some issues off the field since he left Alabama to go to the NFL. And this season, he was suspended 2 games for performance enhancers. And now word came on a report from WXYZ TV in Detroit that he was not arrested, but with his brother earlier this month pulled over in a traffic situation. And now they're saying that he probably should have been arrested for a concealed weapon charge. And now there's a bunch of controversy as to why he was not arrested and booked. So here is the body cam video of the officers that pulled him over. And obviously you can't see the video, but you can hear the audio of the exchange that Williams and his brother had with officers the night he was pulled over. I think this was back, I want to say, on October the 8th. But here's the audio.
Mr. Williams? Yo. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have you step out, okay? I'll explain everything to you in a second, but just I can't see your other hand, so I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna my legs because I'm really cold. Okay. All right, do me a favor, all right? I'm gonna have you lock your hands on top of your head, and I'll explain everything to you in just a second, but I'm gonna take you out, okay? What? You're gonna start preparing to conceal weapon, and I'm just explaining it to you so I can be transparent. Okay. All right, we'll discuss the rest of it. I'm going to be very open and honest with you throughout the entirety of this, okay? Or entirety of this, all right? But I need you to put your hand behind your head, okay? Hold on. Put your hand behind your head, okay? And just face away from me. Bro, I'm playing for Yeah, sure. Just stand right here for me. You can face my car, okay?
You can't really hear Williams that much as you hear the officer. I was hoping the audio quality would be a little bit better, but again, it is off a body cam. But basically, they found the weapons His brother had a license for his. Jameson did not for his. Jameson was pleading with them, making sure they knew he played for the Detroit Lions. And long story short was he wound up not getting arrested. And now there's a lot of controversy as to why he did not, because he had a concealed weapon with no license for it. So it's one of those things. And listen, I'm in broadcast business. I'm a journalist, and that's what TV stations will do sometimes when they find, without WXYZ pushing this, we would have never heard of anything about it. But that's what TV stations do. So we'll see what happens with Jameson Williams in that situation. But it's not ideal, that's for sure. We do so many Bama in the NFL updates here on the show. Most of the time they're positive. We're talking about how well a guy played, but occasionally they have, the off the field circumstances that are not good. 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904 is the number on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. If you want to give us a call and join the program, you can. All right, let's get to SEC football this weekend. I mentioned the games yesterday briefly, but I'll get into the point spreads. And speaking of the point spreads, how did I do last week? I haven't even added it up, Chase. Here we go. I wanted to take Bama, but the line just kept going up, and I'd already picked it 38-23. So I took Missouri. That was a loss. I took Auburn. That was a win. I took A&M. That was a win. I took Ole Miss. That was a loss. I took Mississippi State. That was a loss. And I took I wound up taking Texas. I don't know why I took Texas. I'd been planning on taking Vandy, but I circled Texas, so I must have taken them. So 2-4. I thought I was 3-3. I don't know why I switched over to Texas, but anyway, that's what I took. That's who I took. So 2-4 last week. So another bad week. So it's not been a great year for me, but we'll have my point spread predictions on Friday. This note as well, no Friday at the Free this week because of the fact that there's no home game or there's no game period. We'll be back there for the LSU game that Friday, but no Friday at the Free this week, and no Bama football trivia giveaway this week from T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery, the University Mall, since there's no game. But I've still got to get Gil his print and Gavin his print. In fact, I'm going to go by and see Tom at T-Town Menswear after the show today. But no Bama football trivia giveaway this Friday. But we will be doing the football point spread predictions. And the schedule for this week, obviously Alabama is on bye, LSU is on bye. But here's the schedule. Ole Miss is at Arkansas, 11 a.m. on Saturday morning on ESPN. That line right now is Ole Miss -7, and the over-under is 53.5. Ole Miss laying 7 at Arkansas, the over-under 53.5. Auburn hosts Vanderbilt. That is an 11:45 a.m. kick at Jordan-Hare on the SEC Network. Auburn is a 7-point favorite, and the over-under is 48.5. Oklahoma hopes to pick up a win. They host Maine on Saturday afternoon at 1:30 on ESPN Plus and the SEC Network Plus. That's a stream, no TV, no line posted on that game. Florida and Georgia. This is the big one. They don't like to refer to it as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party anymore, but it still is. Down in Jacksonville at Everbank Stadium, Georgia, number 2 in the country, is laying 16.5 against Florida, and the over-under is 52.5. Massachusetts at Mississippi State. Will the Bulldogs get their second win? Well, they're favored by 18, Chase, so maybe they will. That's a 3:15 game on the SEC Network. By the way, Georgia and Florida, 2:30 on ABC. But Mississippi State, your Bulldogs, who I gave them a lot of credit for playing better, and I said, you know what? Mississippi State at home, catching 7 against Arkansas. I'm going to take the Bulldogs, and then they gave up 50+. That's what I get.
On behalf of Mississippi State, we are truly sorry.
Yeah, you are. You're pitiful. Pitiful. I tried to show a little confidence, Jeff Levy, and then they got railroaded at home. But I think they'll beat UMass. Question is, will they cover the spread? We'll find out what I think on Friday about that. Over under 59.5. You've got A&M going to South Carolina. Now, this is a interesting game. We're going to talk much more about it tomorrow with Ellis Johnson, the coach. A&M coming off that emotional victory over LSU, the only unbeaten team in conference play in the Southeastern Conference. And now you go on the road as a road favorite at Williams-Brice Stadium, 6:30 on ABC, laying 2.5 points. That is what you call a trap game, even though it shouldn't be a trap game because A&M is going to be ready to play. I think they understand, but still, South Carolina is pretty good. South Carolina's defense is excellent. They're at home, at night. That place can rock. They should have beaten LSU. They could have beaten Alabama. They handled Oklahoma out in Norman. This is not a terrible team. A&M, this is where A&M could pull an A&M. This is if you've tracked A&M's program through the years, this is the problem for them. It's like when they beat Alabama with Johnny Manziel. Or even a couple years ago, 3 years ago when they beat Alabama. Still didn't get to Atlanta. Still have never been to the SEC championship game since they came into the league. This is where A&M traditionally has tripped up. Kentucky at Tennessee, Saturday night, 6:45. Neyland Stadium, ESPN Network, or I'm sorry, SEC Network. Vols laying 16.5. Kentucky's playing bad football right now. Just bad. I would probably set that line at about 20. 16.5, over under 45.5. So that's your SEC schedule, times, and TV assignments. Again, Ole Miss at Arkansas, 11 a.m. ESPN, Vandy at Auburn, 11:45, SEC Network. Maine at Oklahoma, 1:30, ESPN Plus. Florida at Georgia, or Florida versus Georgia in Jacksonville, 2:30 on ABC. UMass at Mississippi State, 3:15 on SEC Network. Texas A&M at South Carolina, 6:30 on ABC. And Kentucky at Tennessee, 6:45 on SEC Network. It's 10:15 here on the Gary Harris Show. Hey, listen, holidays are fast approaching. I mean, approaching so fast, they're going to be on top of you. And this is a time of year that you want your house looking its best because of the fact that you're going to be entertaining guests. You're going to be having Christmas parties. Well, Houston Hydro-Steam, carpet and upholstery cleaning, quality work you can stand on for 40 years, providing the best carpet and upholstery steam cleaning services to thousands of homes and businesses. Your house needs to look its best for the holidays, and Jackie Houston and his crew, locally owned, locally operated, can do that for you. Residential cleaning, commercial cleaning, upholstery cleaning, they've got all the services that you need. Regardless of your flooring, they can handle it. They can even take care of those tough grout jobs in your showers. Houston Hydro-Steam, carpet and upholstery cleaning. Give them a call today, 205-553-9460. That's 205-553-9460. All right, we're wide open for phone calls in this next segment. I know it's a bye week, but where are my callers at? 205-342-9904. Where is all my usual suspects?
Come on, y'all, call in.
Who are some of them, Chase, that you're expecting to call that haven't called?
I know Bryce. I know Ellis. That's my main man right there. A new caller, Q06.
Where's Tom? Where's
Phillip.
Cowboy? Where's Phillip?
I need Robbie Glenn. He's been consistent.
You know, where are all these guys? So anyway, 205 342-9904 if you want to give us a call. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll be back with more of the show. We got Larry the Music Man coming up at the bottom of the hour on the Gary Harris Show.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your...
You'll find information about great jobs across the state as well as specific positions here at Town Square Media. And you'll be able to apply online at broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places stay dry. The high today 81. Tonight's low 64. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower in spots tomorrow night. The high 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 68 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
All right, 1021, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Asking You Shall Receive. We got a couple phone calls. We're going to get to Cowboy in just a moment, but Bruce Brown in Tuscaloosa is first up. Hey, Bruce, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How are you today?
Doing well.
All right. I'm buddies with your friend Bill Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Bill calls me 2 or 3 times every day, so I'm always up to date on Bill.
Yeah.
Knowing what's going on there.
So you're on his call list too. Well, that's good to know.
Oh, I absolutely am.
Love Bill.
If I need to know something about sports, he said, "Well, I don't know, but I can call Gary. He'll know."
He'll track it down for you, won't he, Bruce?
He will. But I wanted to ask you, what's happened to Andrew Bone?
Well, Bone is still doing his thing. He's working for On3. And Bama Online, the website service, Bama Online is the one that covers Alabama for On3. He's one of their recruiting analysts, and actually we run a piece with him every Friday night on Football Friday. Of course, right now with us being at limited power, not as many people are getting to see it, but we do a recruiting tales with him every week. As far as my radio show, that's a good question. I just hadn't featured Bone in a while, Bruce, because it's just been kind of quiet in recruiting. But I need to get him. I need to get him back on here soon. So I'm glad you mentioned him. I'll look to get him on here in the next week or two to kind of catch us up on recruiting.
How soon do you think your TV power is going to be back up to full speed?
Well, I don't want to jinx this because this has just been a nightmare. But I think, based on what I've been told, hopefully next week. That's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for.
I hear you. Well, most of these prognosticators are specialists. I've been hearing lately said Alabama's going to have trouble making it into the playoffs.
Well, I'll agree with them from this standpoint. If they lose another one, they're not going. So they've got to they got to win these next 4: LSU, Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. And then Bruce, I think they'll get in if they're 10-2. I've heard some other people say, well, they may not even get in at 10-2. But if Alabama's 10-2 and has beaten LSU in Baton Rouge and beaten Georgia, and that might be still the only team that beats Georgia, I don't think they're going to keep them out. But you can't lose another one, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, we needed LSU to beat Texas A&M last week.
Probably would have been to Alabama's advantage. But still, if you go to Baton Rouge and win, that's still a quality win, though.
Oh, absolutely. Well, all right, Gary, good to talk to you, buddy.
Good talk to you, Bruce. And tell Bill when he calls you today that you called in on the radio show.
All right. If you saw me, you would know who I was. But
well, hopefully,
all
I'll run into you again.
Okay. See ya.
All right, Bruce. Thank you. And let's get to the Cowboy. Hey, Cowboy. Good morning.
How you doing, Gary? Hey, when you were under the weather last week, boy, something's got me today. I don't feel like I got a lot of energy. You kind of, your body aches a little bit. I don't know what you have. I got a doctor virtual. They were full. Couldn't get you worked in, but they're going virtual here about 2:15. I don't know. Whew.
Well, buddy, it's no fun not being 100%. I'm just going to tell you, I hate it. I mean, I'm one of those people. Yeah. I think I hate being sick more than the sickness aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But, we'll get to feeling better, pal.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I had to call the boss this morning. That wasn't fun.
That's never fun, dude. Well, for me, I miss work so little last, and mine was a stomach ailment, and I was worried about having had that diverticulitis, in 2022. That's what I was worried about. But I remember that morning, having to call Chase because I was up all night, and I was planning on still trying to come in, and I just said, there's no way. So I had to call Chase, and we didn't have time to get a fill-in or anything. And then, of course, I had to call the TV station, too, which they're shocked when I call in there. They're not used to it at all,
Yeah.
So, but let me ask you, what do you think? If Alabama runs the table and goes 10-2, do you think they're in the playoff? I do.
Yeah, I would probably say they are in. They would have beaten Georgia, and that's assuming Tennessee's 10-2. If Tennessee upsets Georgia, then we're all off the table for us at 10-2, and then. Well,
I don't think Tennessee.
We still might.
I don't think Tennessee's going to beat Georgia. I'm just going to tell you, I don't think anybody else is going to beat Georgia. Right? Listen. I talk about Saban could have won more national championships. You hear me say that all the time. He won 6. He could have won 9. He could have won 10. He could have won 11. But there's always a team that, Clemson for a couple of years, Auburn, was able to stop him. But for Georgia, with no Alabama, well, I mean, I have to go back and add it up. But I think Cowboy, they'd be on a 60-something game win streak.
Oh, yeah.
Ain't nobody else beat them in 4 years.
Nope.
I mean, without Alabama, Georgia's on one of the they broke Bud Wilkinson's 47-game win streak. They've probably won 4 or 5 natties in a row. You take Alabama out of the mix, and they're on the all-time streak. Nobody else can beat that team.
Did they break the Stalin's Alabama 30-something game winning streak, and the last one, Coach?
Well, now Stalin's streak was the same as Coach Bryant's. It was 28. Now he had a 30-something game unbeaten streak because remember they had the tie against Tennessee.
Right.
But they broke the 28-game wins in a row. They got to 29. But Alabama ended that last year in the SEC championship game. But as far as regular season losses, they hadn't lost a regular season game, I want to say, since it might have been 20 or 21 at the earliest. And
we beat them in 20.
Alabama beat them in 20, and that might have been their last regular. They lost a couple that year, but they haven't. Their streak against everybody else is just unbelievable. So I don't think Tennessee's going to beat Georgia is where I'm going with that. But
hey, I know I'm going to upset your caller Digger probably, but I'm looking at Texas' schedule. They've only played one. People would really.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, you can't convince me that the SEC, with all the prowess and that Texas has and wanting to get them into the league. Chris Del Conte must have negotiated this schedule with the SEC before Texas agreed to come into the league.
Hey, Gary, also go look at their basketball schedule. They got Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Auburn all at home. They don't have to play them on the road.
I think they did some negotiating with the conference office. I do to get the schedules. You're right. In football and basketball, they've got this first year. I mean, you couldn't have laid them out any better. I mean, it's still Georgia upset their apple cart by going in there and beating them. But no, I'm with you.
Georgia didn't beat them; they beat the tar out of them.
But too. So this is Vanderbilt was the first SEC road game they played this season, late October, before they even played an SEC road game. They'd had all their SEC games at home. Yeah, the Texas conspiracy theories are out there because, my gosh, when you look at this schedule, the way it was laid out, and you listen, now they got to go A&M, but that's their rival. But at the same time, nobody had any inkling that A&M was going to be this good. So that didn't look like that much. That didn't really like a daunting game going in. Now it's turned into what could be a slobber knocker now.
All right, they got to go to A&M. Where's the other road game?
Let's see. They've been to Vanderbilt. Let me just pull their schedule up. Hold on.
Kentucky at home. Goodness. They got the game on the 16th, whoever that is. Oh, that's at Arkansas.
Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be. Let me just pull them up here. All right, let's see. SEC schedule-wise. First of all, they didn't even play an SEC game until September 28th. They were home against Mississippi State. They were in Dallas against Oklahoma, but that was their home game. They were at home against Georgia, so they didn't go on the road until October 26th at Vanderbilt.
Oh, I think Oklahoma was their road game.
That's right. It was their road game. I'm sorry. That's right, because they only played 3 true road games. Oklahoma counted as a road game. But they go to Vandy, to Arkansas, and to A&M. That's it as far as road games are concerned.
Next year it flips.
And then they've got they got Florida at home, Kentucky at home, Georgia at home, and Mississippi State at home. Yeah, you couldn't have drawn. They don't play Alabama. They don't play Tennessee. They don't play LSU. Outside of Georgia at home, that's a schedule anybody in this league would have taken.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't know if they're gonna beat A&M down there.
No, nobody does at this point. Nobody does. It's gonna be an interesting game. So, but it's gonna be.
I was going to ask you. Go ahead.
I got to get to the break now because I got to get to.
I was just going to ask you right quick. That A&M coach gives me a different vibe than anybody else down there has since I lived in Texas.
Yeah, he's doing the job, man. He is doing the job, and good football coach.
I don't think he's smoking mirrors like Kevin Sutton.
No, he looks like.
Does my home smell good? I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la. Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the
100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:35. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for Larry the Music Man, Larry Butler, Atlanta, Georgia, joining us for his segment. And we weren't on last week as we've talked about, under the weather last Wednesday. But Larry is back and ready to go. I got no idea where we're going this week, but Larry will let us know. And if you want to call in, and I know a couple people had texted me last week that they were disappointed we didn't have the segment, but you can call in at 205-342-9904. Hey, good morning, Larry. Do you recognize that song we came back with?
Man, that is a good. I got that album and eight cassette and 8-track.
Rosington Collins Band. Don't misunderstand.
Man, that debut was killer, man. Oh yeah, that's when. I wish they'd hung around a little longer.
I do too. Just a couple years, and but that was a great album. Well, what do you got for us? Because I got some Southern fried chicken information. All right. First, I never forget callers, and a lot, when somebody mentions a song or
something that stays with me. And one of our early shows, it may have been our first show, your longtime caller, Philip, which I catch on Martin's show in the morning, then Barry and Wimp, and then, of course, your show. He's always informative with his stuff. And he mentioned Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones,
right?
Which was that was a very unique song. And I've always been a big fan of the mid-'60s to late 60s Rolling Stones, that era, that particular sound they had. And the instrument used that made that song unique, Brian Jones, the late Brian Jones, right. He was a genius. He was a genius. That's another story in itself. But he played marimba on it. That's that up under sound you're hearing, do 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 do,
Yeah.
And, I thought that may have been what Philip was hearing. That song was just a catchy song. It wasn't a hit or anything. It was on their Hot Rocks greatest Hot Rocks hits. It was an album cut, but it made the radio. It was a hit, but it was just a very unique song. I remember when it came out, I mean, I'm a young buck, and I said, man, I look Under My Thumb. Anyway, so I wanted to throw that at him if he's listening, but he was spot on. Well, I'm going to do the trivia question, and I'm going to move on to something I think everybody might be interested in.
Okay.
As we've been talking about the Alabama connection to Atlanta and so forth. All right, here we go. They got a name for the winners in the world. I want a name when I lose. They call Alabama the Crimson Tide. They call me. I need the group in the name.
That's a good one. That is a good one. The famous line, and there's so much, and that's a whole story into itself, and I'm not going to give away the answer, but if you know the song and the artist, give us a call, 205-342-9994. But that song has so many myths about it, so many, because of the tie-in, of course, to Alabama and the other school that's mentioned in the song or thought to be mentioned, but there's so many thoughts out there on what it was about, and Donald Fagen made it clear in an interview that he did later in regards to that song, but we'll believe it. Chase, watch those phones. They're going to be lighting up now because people be calling in. Hey, let's go ahead to Chase. Punch Bryce through. Bryce wants to go ahead and get on with Larry. All right, I don't like to punch through because I always hang up on people for some reason. So, all right, Bryce, hey, you're on with Larry.
Hey, Larry.
Bryce, my man, how you doing?
Good. Listen, I told Jerry a story last week. It's going to blow your mind. I work with a sales crew. We travel all over the country, and they were in Greenville. This is before I started with them. They were in Greenville, for the concert, and two of the girls had went to the airport and got on the plane with the band. And a good friend of mine talked them off the plane. They woke up the next morning. They were glad that he did.
Well, Bryce, we'll use that. We didn't quite get all that because time just goes away when you're having fun. But I'm going to do that the rest of that segment next week about Gene Odom's story about the plane on the tarmac. There was a lot of chaos, and you're right, because there were stragglers trying to get on that plane, and actually a photo has surfaced of the band pulling up in a Mercedes there from the hotel from where they were at. It's the last known picture of Artemis Pyle, Ronnie Van Zant in the car. They were fixing to get on that plane. Anyway, and there's also a member, and I'll bring that up next week, that was late that almost missed the plane. So it was crazy, man. It was like it was dark, a lot of stuff. The last 2 hours was real chaotic. So we'll do that next week, though, and continue their segment.
I had it on my mind, and I told him last week. Now, what was the question?
Yeah.
I missed the question a while ago.
The question, Bryce, was lyrics. They got a name for the winners in the world, and I want a name when I lose. They call Alabama the Crimson Tide. They call me blank, and it was the song title and the band.
I can't remember the band, but one day you'll get old too, Gary.
Listen, I'm already there, bro.
I remember the song, but I can't recall the group right off the top of my head right now, so I don't know the answer to that. But I remember that song very well.
Well, people are texting me the answer, so I've got a couple people who have already gotten it, but we'll hold off on it here for a few minutes. Somebody did. But we got a bunch of other callers waiting to get on, Bryce.
All right, thanks. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks. Chase, I know you're answering phones too, but like I said, I'm scared I'll cut people off. Go ahead and punch Philip through next, if you don't mind. All right, Philip, good morning.
Hey, well, Deacon Blues is a song, and Steely Dan's the group.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. And, but, hey, Larry, it's crazy you mentioned that because Steely Dan is the reason I'm calling today. And have you ever heard one of their outtakes? It appeared on a big album that I actually bought in Tuscaloosa back in the early 80s. It was just 2 songs, but it was like an album-sized recording. And on one side, there was a song called Dallas, and the other side of that album was a song called Sail the Waterways. Have you ever heard those 2 songs?
Yes, those are studio outtakes. If you got that, brother, you need to frame it. You still got it?
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. And those Dallas is one of the better songs I've ever heard.
Yes. Well,
nobody knows about it.
They've got my telephone number at the station. If you don't mind, would you message me a picture of it when you get a chance?
Yeah, it'll take me a few days. It's at another.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I've been trying to find that. There's a lot of stuff that comes out now, rarities and outtakes, and that being one of them. The bass player died, the other partner.
Walter Becker died in 2017.
That would be quite rare. I'd hold on to it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got it. But,
I collect vinyl. I've probably got 4,500 albums. Most of them are first cuts and promotional copies, of course, because my manager at that time, I told Gary that was a radio DJ. So it was wide open what I got. He would give me and say, you need to listen to this. Anyway, that's interesting, man. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Dallas is a great song, and maybe Gary can listen to it one day and pull it up on YouTube.
Well, you can find anything on YouTube, and you just reminded me, I made a list of Skinner shows you can find on YouTube before the crash, if you want to see the original band in action.
Yeah.
I'll try to do that before we get through the show, so.
But I'll tell you something, the interesting thing about that song, Dallas, which I think is one of the better Steely Dan songs, is that Donald Fagen did not sing it. It was sung by a guy named Jim Hodder, the drummer.
He was the original singer in Steely Dan, which I loved the original band, the Can't Buy a Thrill album, with Reeling in the Years and all, He was a great vocalist. And then he...
Well, can I tell my quick Steely Dan Deacon
I want you
Blues
to, Gary. Yeah, we don't mean to leave you.
No, it's great. I just want to because there's so many misconceptions about that song, and I had when I was growing up.
You tell the story.
Well, when I was growing up, I was hearing songs, that Walter Becker and Donald Fagen went to school at Alabama, and that's not true. Or they've been to a football game. It was not inspired by Alabama football at all, other than the fact that. It was kind of a backhanded compliment toward Alabama. Donald Fagen wrote the song in Malibu, California, and it's about outcasts, and it's about people who haven't done well. His thought process was that if a football team like Alabama can have this, he loved the name Crimson Tide, obviously, and thought it was a grandiose name and sounded so good, then why can't the losers? Why can't there be a name for the losers in the world? And a lot of people thought it referenced Wake Forest because of Demon Deacons, but it really wasn't. That it was inspired by Deacon Jones, the defensive lineman, the great defensive lineman for the Los Angeles Rams. And so, but really the song is about people who lived on the outside looking in. They got a name for the winners in the world. Of course, Alabama won a ton then. Crimson, call me Deacon Blues. So it's really That's really the inspiration for the song.
Yeah, it was a backhand to the standard.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
Yeah.
So, why can't we have a name?
I want a name when I lose. Yeah. Why can't I have a name when I lose?
And that's why everybody thought it was about Wake Forest, because the Demon Deacons lost all the time and Alabama won all the time. But what a song.
This kind of fits Vanderbilt. I want a name when I lose. Hell, look what they've done all of a sudden.
Yeah. So, but what a great song. Hey, thank you, Philip.
Yeah, man.
Thank y'all.
All right, let's see who's up next. They're lined up. Let's get, I think George in Macon is up next. Go ahead and punch him through. Hey, George.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Yeah, I wanted to ask.
Man, how you doing, George? Hadn't heard from you in a while. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm great. How you doing? Yeah, I was going to. There's a band back in the day in the 60s when I was much younger called the Ramblers with Johnny Robinson. He was kind of a local favorite as far as having a band. And I was wondering if you were familiar with them at all. Or
I do remember the Ramblers. Now, you're originally from Macon, right?
Originally, I'm from Birmingham, but I live in Macon.
That's okay. That's okay. Birmingham. I mean, yeah, the Ramblers, and that just popped up. I was reading about them. And do you remember the lead singer's name or any of the members?
Johnny Robinson.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I remember that, but I do. But he was, anybody that wanted to start a little local band, they'd always emphasize him. Say, your friends or your family say, you can't do anything with a local band. And everybody said, well, how about the Ramblers and Johnny Robinson? He kind of had in the area, everybody kind of knew him. And there was also, I don't know if you're familiar with the Lowenbrow, but it was a beer joint. And they would have three on the string, and they were two coaches from Woodlawn. Or three coaches from Woodlawn, and they were really very, very good. I was wanting to know if you were familiar.
I am, and I'm going to tell you, I think the Ramblers were on the famous WMAZ show when they used to have groups on the radio station in Macon.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. Yeah, I read about them. In fact, I have a friend that lives close to where I'm at now. I'm still in South Georgia at the home place. It's peanut season, and her dad played up there. He was a steel guitar player. He was quite a notable, and I'm trying to remember his name, and I want to say he had a connection with the Ramblers.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little digging on that. I'm going to tell you, WMAZ was quite famous. It was a famous radio station and brought in a lot of the local acts, and they would play at lunchtime, on the show.
Yeah.
The music hour? Yeah, so.
Yeah, I was, like I say, I was raised in Birmingham, and, we talk about the Ramblers, and I think I also mentioned several weeks ago, Morris Avenue with the Crazy Horse and Oak Street and the Showboat, they would always play there, but, and also the Lowenbrow was kind of a beer joint that was kind of not underground, but they had three on the string there, and those were three guys that were coaches at Woodlawn, and they were really, really good. And then there was a front porch string band that played at Oak Street that did bluegrass. And when I hear your voice when y'all talk about back in the day, those are some things that I kind of think of and remember, have fond memories of.
That's exactly what we want to do. That was a magical time in music, and that's what I want from people. I want input. I can't remember everything, and it was not everywhere, but I was a good bit everywhere, and I'd like the people to bring up things. Now, next week, and I hadn't told Gary, I'm going to go ahead and say, and let everybody listen to this, I want input from the Columbus, Fort Benning, and Phoenix City, Alabama music scene in the mid-'60s to the early '70s, because I played over there a lot. We'll leave it at that. If anybody out there has got any thoughts next week, I'm going to have a little segment about that during the Vietnam War.
I'm passing by the big house right now in Vineville.
There you go.
All right,
give
George.
him a big old peace sign, brother. Yeah.
Appreciate you, buddy. I'm going to try to get to one more caller here before we wrap up the segment. Go ahead and punch Scott in Virginia up. Hey, Scott. Scott, you're on, buddy. I hear Scott shuffling some papers. Scott. Scott, you're on the air, my friend. All right, put
At
him
least
back.
he didn't go to sleep, Gary.
Put him back on hold, Chase, and see if you can let him know. He's been waiting for a while. We had about 5 calls, so he may not realize that he's on the air. We'll see if we can get him back on. But like you said, that's a good thing. You enjoy the interaction, and we're getting a lot of.
That's what we wanted from the get-go. We wanted input. I mean, I don't like to hear myself talk, but that just what you said was very great. That was a good segment on Steely Dan, brother.
Yeah, Scott's gone. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad listen, I love Steely Dan. I mean, I think they're one of the cleverest, writing groups. And you know what was weird about them? Because as a kid, I'd listened to them, but I never really knew most of their work in the 70s. Larry, and this is a good question for you. Of course, obviously Skunk Baxter and all, but they didn't tour much, did they? Most of their work.
No.
Yeah,
they did not. You can see them on the Midnight Special do Reeling in the Years. There's very few live segments of them. They refuse to tour.
Yeah.
And Skunk Baxter was a notable studio musician who had a run with the Doobie Brothers, and also played that hot guitar on Hot Stuff by Donna Sumner.
Okay.
I hated that song because it was disco era, but I waited for that guitar part. You know what I mean?
Right.
Gary, let me throw out these. If anybody wants to see the original band before the crash, Freebird the movie, A Day on the Green with Bill Graham, live in Oakland. They opened up for Peter Frampton. Mm-hmm. It's in Freebird the movie, the segment, but you can also YouTube it and see the whole concert. The Old Grey Whistle Stop was a British show, BBC. With Bob Burns even on the drums. And then live in Winterland,
awesome.
California. Yeah.
Some of those, a couple of those videos.
San Francisco.
There are a couple is that a black and white video? One of them is a black and white video.
Yes. Yeah. They do that smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's great stuff. I got to hit the break, but
WTBC 1230 with Wyatt Fulton and Matt Coulter, presented by BMW of Tuscaloosa, Pearl River Resort and Casino, Tuscaloosa Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and Walk-Ons.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the
Lowe's Pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also
show you how many Tuscaloosa customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places stay dry. The high today 81, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower in spots tomorrow night. The high 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 68 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:57, fun segment again with Larry the Music Man, Larry Butler out of Atlanta, Georgia. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. Back tomorrow with the Thursday edition, which means we got the coach, Ellis Johnson, D. Orlando Ledbetter on the Falcons, Jeff Spiegel, and a whole lot more. So I will talk to you then. For Chase Brumfeld, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening, everybody, to the Gary Harris Show. Coming up next, T-Town Sports Daily with Wyatt Fulton and Chase. That's coming up at 11 a.m. Miller's Edge at noon, and Fowler will take you home with the game 2 to 6 here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for listening